This is The Gauge with host Chance Conradu.
Are you freaking serious? It's Conrado. What is up, everybody? This is The Gauge. I am Chance Conrado, and on this episode, we have got Adam Hotaling and Keith Skates. They are rodeo athletic trainers out of Decatur, Texas. All you PBR guys and PRCA rough stock guys, some of you tie down guys, you guys know these dudes. They are right in your workouts. They're keeping you straight when you're at the events. They have a lot of interesting stuff to say. They're very smart, intelligent guys, and they're kind of at the forefront when it comes to the sciences and performance aspect of rodeo athletes. They are awesome. They're actually really funny, and it was a lot of fun doing an episode with them. Check it out. So, I mean, how did you guys get linked up with Fit and Wise to begin with?
Start.
No, honestly, I guess it was probably first job out of college.
Yours?
Yeah. My wife had family in Decatur. Mm-hmm. So I was just looking on job listings in Decatur, and Fit and Wise had one. So I was like, why not? Threw my name out there, and they hired me on. Funny story is that I actually just stayed there 1 year. I couldn't find my wife a job. She was pregnant.
You couldn't find a pregnant lady a job? You don't say.
Yeah, weird. But I mean, people just wouldn't. They pretty much just see she was pregnant and turn her out.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to give her maternity leave, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So, right, being a new hire.
So I went down to Austin for 3 years and was just miserable there. And the whole time I was in Austin, my boss now called and was like, got a job for you, I'm like, not right now. And then finally he's like, I got a job for you. I was like, let's go. So came up, wife interviewed. She got 2 job offers that day. And then we've been there ever since, 6 years now.
Yeah. We graduated from Hardin-Simmons University in Abilene together. He graduated a year ahead of me. And I graduated and went to UT Tyler as an assistant there for 2 years, and then bounced around at 2 high schools. And I was at North Forney High School, and kind of just wanted something different. And he'd been trying to get me to come to Fit and Wise for 6 years, something like that. And praying one day, God, where do you want me? And he sends me a text message, hey, you want to work rodeo again? I said, no, and that ship sailed, I'm done. I took a year off. And next day I'm praying again, hey, where do you want me? And he sends me another text message, and it was a link to the ERA. And so I clicked on it, and I was like, oh, shit. Like looking at, you're looking at NFR champion. It basically was the NFR. And I was like, we need to talk about this. So I came on in April of 16. I came on. It was when we were sports medicine team for the ERA, and met my wife a couple months after that, and we're still there. So yeah, we're Decatorites now.
Decatorites?
I guess so.
Is that an actual term, or just make that
I don't
up
know,
on
just
the
made
spot?
it up on the spot.
It totally
Yeah.
works. I'm sure everybody will be real happy to use that.
Can I patent that? Is that a thing?
You could definitely, if you want to go through the patenting paperwork, you do it.
And the money. It's the money.
It's the money. Yeah. So, okay, so the ERA. When the ERA came out, I actually was a big fan. I liked, you got Trevor and all those guys doing that. Of course, it ultimately went away, but
Right.
What was it like for you guys kind of being in there working in that environment? What was your guys' opinion of the ERA, being that you actually were working the ERA?
It's the best of the best. You've got, like Adam mentioned earlier, it's pretty much the NFR every weekend, twice a weekend NFR, and it was really, really great. It made it tough for us to go back and work some of these other rodeos, because Tough Cooper, Trevor Brazil, these guys weren't in these other rodeos anymore because they were doing just the ERA. So it made it kind of tough to go back and work these other. They're professional rodeos, but in a way they were amateur rodeos, just because the top of the top weren't there, And it was. I've never wanted to been starstruck, but I was starstruck. It was incredible. Just these athletes, the top of their game, every weekend, twice a weekend.
Yeah, we the very first one was Redmond, Oregon, and it was a meet and greet, and we go walking in the establishment, and I see Fred Whitfield across the way, and he kind of head nods and the head nod, and he's like, "You know him?" I'm like, yeah, I've been a few times, but it was really cool seeing these guys, and I thought it was a great production. they were really hyping. It all depended on the location of the event. Redmond was phenomenal. Great venue, sold out 2 nights in a row. But it was fun. I was actually excited to go to some of these places that the events got canceled, like Atlanta, St. Louis. Those would have been great. But I mean, you schedule rodeos on a Friday night in football towns. You know, the South is football true and true, and your crowds, your tickets aren't going to be there. And it was sad to see it go away, but it's kind of cool now because now you're seeing these guys back in the bright lights of Vegas. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean it was some interesting controversy, which I'm of the belief that the more like actual, we were talking about this a little earlier, but the real stuff behind the scenes, the actual controversy in rodeo, it's like, why is there not a rodeo TMZ? I mean, I know I said it earlier. There should be.
Yeah.
Like that, it's like God-loving cowboys, I think, is a phrase that is said on every podcast so far, and pretty much everything, but I'm a big fan of the other stuff, personally. And when the ERA came out and it was like ready to compete with the PRCA, I mean, it was kind of cool in a way to see those guys like kind of go against, call it the establishment for a minute. And, you know, nothing against the PRCA. The PRCA is a great organization. You know, it's
absolutely,
but they're selling memberships and they have to keep them going. And you got to get those cards to people and all that. And I understand all that, but the ERA just came out and it was just so cool. And you guys being flies on the walls in that, I mean, as just a totally unbiased, we're well past it opinion, why do you think that it didn't work out? Since you guys were literally in it.
You know, I think that they thought that it was going to get big super fast. You know, to make money, you got to spend money, and I just don't think that they let it play out enough. I mean, you know, they gave the Cowboys saves, which is just something that they weren't really used to. Maybe venue places like, I mean, I don't really know. St. Louis isn't really a big rodeo town, but you know, like I said, it was going to be cool to go there because it was just something new. But man, I don't know. I just think it was I think that they thought the names themselves were going to sell, and it just, for some reason, I think there was a lot of divide too between. Like I would get yelled at. Like I went to a buddy's rodeo in Lubbock, and big cowboy family, and 2 of his buddies were pro PRCA and like cussed me out because I was working with the ERA, and I think there was that split, and it's kind of hard to get an old dog like new tricks.
It's tough. Well, I mean, it's just the mentality of rodeo's always been, but. Okay, so WCRA comes on the scene, and those dudes are winning. Like, it's working, and everybody is such a fan of the WCRA. And it's not a giant difference from what the ERA was. I mean, it's different, but it's not. The money is better. I think that's what didn't pan out, according to a lot of the athletes, is that the money at the ERA, it just wasn't what you would have thought it would be.
Right. I mean, the WCRA, if you look at their logos, it's the same lettering as the ERA.
Yeah.
Where the WCRA, I think, will benefit is because the majors are piggybacking with the PBR. Like, PBR fans love bull riding. They love rodeo. And so they're going to come watch the top 30 compete, you know what I mean? Because it's exciting. And then you add, you know, something like the breakaway, which no one had ever seen before. I mean, you see someone like Jackie Crawford nod, and she comes out and she spins 1 and 1/8. People are like, holy crap. You know, it's just something, it's new. And I think that it's probably going to be the new future of rodeo.
I mean, it definitely seems like that. But one thing they do that's amazing, and a lot of people will come out and speak favorably of the WCRA because of the focus on the athletes themselves. You know, that's what's so neat about it. It's like, it is, from the time they get there all the way through, it's like they love it because they get pampered in a way that they don't going to rodeos, you know, and it's like, it's all about us. It's all about us. And it just creates a different feeling. And, you know, we were talking about kind of the evolution of rodeo, and it's like, it's not the rodeo cowboy anymore. It is the rodeo athlete, which leads right into what you guys do for a freaking living, which is like my most favorite thing.
Great segue.
Yeah, it's a great segue because we were talking about the Cowboys of the previous generation, not even that long ago, just the difference between what's in a bag, for instance.
Right. So like 15 years ago, I don't care what event it is. I don't care. I mean, you look in a bareback bag, you're going to have Cowboy Killer, Marlboro Reds, probably some old snuff cans, crinkled up Coors Light cans, which they're still going to be around. But you look at the modern day rodeo athlete, and you're going to see multivitamins. You're going to see, pre-workout
shaker bottles,
yeah, shaker bottles, pre-workout protein shakes. You're going to see stuff like that because these guys now are focusing on taking care of themselves, because when they take care of themselves, the longevity of their career is going to enhance. So instead of a rodeo athlete retiring at 33, like a roughie, they might be able to last until 37, 38. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting because you look at like the evolutions of some other sports. Like let's take a baby sport. Like if you look at time span, the UFC. Somehow that's always a topic on the show because I like it. But you look at that, mid-90s, right? It's that same type of, I mean, you could almost call them cowboys the way that it was. Like this just tournament style, just rough dudes, tough. Rough and tough guys. Fast forward 20 years, and it's one of the biggest sports in the entire world, and they are the pinnacle of what an athlete is. And rodeo's been around for like 100 years, and there's been no evolution really until now, with guys like you doing what you do and just the mentality shift. And I just got to think that like someone like Fit and Wise and the proper coaching, we had Tim O'Connell on here talking about the kind of workouts you guys do. Yeah. I would love kind of you guys, when you're writing those workouts, what's the inspiration? Because he said there's some of the hardest workouts he's ever done, and that dude is a savage. Yeah, so for him to say that.
Each workout's pretty individual. We're not going to give Tim O'Connell the same workout that we give maybe, an amateur bull rider. We're just not going to do it. Everybody's individual. Everybody's got a different body, different discipline. So every workout's just individual, and we know these guys well enough. They're pretty much like our brothers. We know these guys well enough. We know it's going to push them, but not just absolutely break them. You know what I mean? So we're able to give them these workouts that really pushes and tests their limits, not just physically but mentally too.
Mm-hmm. With someone like Tim, he's got that wrestling background, so he's used to, working his tail off and sweating his butt off. And you ask him at the end of the day with the workout, hey, how was the workout? He's like, it's okay. Okay. Now it's like, all right, now you're gonna suck. But not necessarily doing Olympic lifts. So it's a sport specific thing. So I'm not gonna train like Keith was saying. It's individual for the guy. But so I'm not gonna train a bareback rider like I'm gonna train a tied on roper or a team roper. The one constant with all these guys is core, because I don't care what you do, you've got to maintain your core strength. Whether you're bouncing around in a saddle or you're trying to stay in the middle of a bull, come around in your hand, you got to work on that. So, I like HIIT stuff. I like high intensity stuff. So I'm going to, do 4 or 5 exercises.
So explain what HIIT is for some of the listeners who are probably not going to know what high intensity interval training is.
So high intensity interval training is you're going to go through 4 or 5 different movements individually, and whether they're going to be a set of 10 or timed as in like 20 seconds. And then so after your certain amount of reps or a certain amount of times done, you're going to go to the next evolution, the next exercise. And so you'll do 3-4 rounds. And then on a time basis. So basically it's a minimal rest, grinding until you're done. And then afterwards we'll throw a pretty good core section at them. Whereas you're not going to get out there and put 350 on a squat rack and make them go, 3 sets of 5. That's not going to benefit. You can still, they'll do their own workouts on their own, which is typically stuff like that. But for performance-based stuff, it's usually those type of exercises.
Yeah, I would probably say 95 to maybe 99% of our workouts, we don't pick up weights. Mm-hmm. I pick up a kettlebell or
very little weight. You're not throwing on a
dumbbell or something, but we're not. Most of our, like you were saying, it's just that high intensity body weight explosive stuff. Most of our athletes are, working for 10 seconds and under. Bull riders are 8 seconds at a time, so we're gonna wear you out for 8 seconds. probably going to go 10 seconds just to make sure we get that buzzard. But it's most of our workouts are body workouts that we just wear you out for that 10, 20 seconds, like he was saying.
Well, so let's take tie down for instance. Like because one of the things that you see tie down struggle with is flanking calves. A 300-pound calf, a lot of guys struggle with. So it just would, for me anyway, because I played a lot of other sports and also always roped calves. I never had a problem flanking calves, even though I'm not the biggest guy, because I played football and I was power cleaning since I was 14, and hang cleaning. It just seemed to translate well for me personally, at least. But
so with flanking stuff like that, yes, there is cleans, but I'm not gonna make a calf rope or hang clean 300 pounds, 250, something like that. So when it's a tie down specific, we had a trainer that worked for us, Don Rodeo. He came up with this routine, and Cliff Cooper works with us also, and we've got another Jim Bowie is another athletic trainer with us. So there's basically those four of us would work with these guys pretty often, but would put resistance around their waist, have them run down the line, bounce off a Bosu like they were getting out of the saddle, running down the slack. And when they hit to it, it's going to be a directional, because you know as well as I do. You rope a calf, he's not going to go straight away all the time. Like he might run down the line left, he might run up right, but you're going to move directionally, and so they'll sidestep that particular way, grab 2 15, 20-pound sandbags, one in each hand, and kind of flank them that way. Just kind of work on those wrist exercises. It's a little intrinsic things in the wrist that will help. Form's a big one. But just stuff like that. Like if you look at a run, and I don't care who it is, they start the same. You know what I mean? It's the same motion, whether you throw the rope, you're running on the rope, getting out of the saddle. It's that same fluid motion. So you want to work on those little things. But like I said, it's all individual.
Form is a big part of it. When we're instructing these guys, for instance, maybe make them do a box jump. It's let's bend those Ds, let's get those VMOs involved, core involved, and let's explode through it. So when you are going to flank that calf, you've got your knees bent, you get those VMOs, the vastus medialis obliques involved, and then you explode through it.
Big words make you sound smart. I know, right?
It's good. It's good.
College. You guys went to college.
A few years. Yes.
We learned it.
Tucker Allen's a good example of it. Tucker Allen, he's a steer wrestler. He's not real big, but his form is always perfect. Yeah. Always perfect. And his form is going to be the same as, Dakota Eldridge, somebody twice his size, but the form is there. So we work a lot of form. And we're not afraid if they're in the middle of the workout, we're not afraid to stop them. Mm-hmm. Your form sucked.
A good example, the American, Rowdy. I don't know if you guys watch the Bull. He's one of the smallest guys out there, and he won the first round of the American. Mm-hmm. It was just like the most beautiful thing you ever saw. Yeah. And he's nowhere size of Dakota or Tyler Pearson or any of those guys.
It's all form.
It's all form. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of merit to what you guys are saying.
And one thing that's evolved with rodeo also, it's not just the performance aspect of it, is now these guys are able to go back and watch film on their phones, so they can break down a run individually of, hey, I missed a slack coming out, or hey, I didn't get my feet set in time to throw the steer down properly, or just out of time, just stuff like that. Or, with Tim, how far he marked them out, but like how far off was he getting in line? And I'm not saying that he does it, but you've got that opportunity of now you can go back. So you're training. You're working on the physical aspect, and now the mental aspect and the psychological aspect is you are now able to see your former runs where you think you're an 88 and you're an 82. Well, what did I do wrong? Oh, okay. Well, I just missed spurring over his neck. Stuff like that. So there's a lot of, the sport of rodeo is it's a true professional sport where these guys don't get paid like they should. They train just as hard as someone in mainstream sports. But I think hopefully that'll turn around at some point.
Well, I think that's one of our goals with this show is just to try to bring as much spotlight and shine onto what the actual world is, because I think that there's not really, there's a ceiling to rodeo because there's always going to be this group of people who disagrees with it from a moral standpoint, right? Animal abuse, blah blah blah. They don't know any of the logistics. Anybody who hasn't raised a bottle calf has no idea how hard it is to keep roping calves healthy, and those are the healthiest cattle you're ever going to find. A bull, a barrel horse, you name it. These are the healthiest animals there are. But so there's always going to be a portion of the population, of the total population of people, who are not going to be into it for that reason. Right. But the reach that rodeo has, it's not even close to its potential. No,
it's not. No.
Why can Trevor Brazil or Haley Kinsel or anybody, even Fallon Taylor, walks to the airport and nobody know who that is? But
which is weird, because especially now with the presence of social media, like, they're all out there, but they're out there to a certain group of individuals. It's weird. Trevor Brazil's, the king of the buckle, and if he goes to Chicago or Cincinnati, Ohio, people are going to be like, why is that guy wearing a cowboy hat? No clue who he is. But I don't know. Hopefully at some point, coast to coast, these rodeo athletes become, a household name.
Well, what you guys are doing, I think, is a big part of that. You're training them like professional athletes, which, they are professional athletes. Yeah. But it wasn't too long ago that they weren't, right? They were, but that's not how they operated.
Right.
And it's just a culture thing, right? It's just like a rodeo cowboy's until this kind of newer evolution, maybe didn't think of themselves that way,
Well, but if you want to get into the animal science behind also this evolution, is look at the stock now. Like, look at the PBR bulls now as opposed to 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Look at the PRCA bulls, because now you're getting some of that cross.
Well, some of them are the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Bruiser will ride in the PBR finals, and then he'll be in the limiter pen in the NFR.
Yep.
So if you tried to ride stock nowadays, living the 15-year-old lifestyle, I think you're going to have a very short career. And I mentioned earlier, Adriano Moraes, 0405, he was in an interview and someone said, what's it like with these animals? He was like, well, they're athletes. He's like, they eat the best food, they drink cleanest water, they see the vet, every week, they're taken care of. He said, they don't drink beer, they don't chase women, they don't chew tobacco. He says, so if you're going to be the best, you've got to train like that. So I'm not saying these guys don't do those things on a certain scale, but the caliber of the animals that they're having to get on or compete with, whether it's a barrel horse or rope horse, whatever, is leaps and bounds over what they used to be.
Well, and you can even just take the value of a barrel horse now, the value even of a bucking horse.
Crazy.
There's $1 million barrel horses out there.
Yeah.
There's $500,000 tie-down horses that are running around Brazil right now.
That's insane.
And then even 10 years ago, I remember when a six-figure barrel horse, $100,000 barrel horse or any horse was like, holy hell.
It was absurd.
It's absurd. And you know this better than a lot of people because of your previous history with barrel racing and all that as far as your marriage.
You're such a dick.
I'm sorry. This show's not all serious. Set yourself up for that an hour ago.
So I was about to kick you under the table.
Good thing I'm protected by this. There's giant wood beams under here for that very reason.
Jerk.
But it's just interesting. It's just whether it be an equine athlete or a bull or even the actual entering athlete themselves. It's
yeah. I think especially like the PBR. I think when the ABBI came out, that was when you start to see the evolution of these rank bulls come around. I mean, you get a cow from Bodacious
mm-hmm.
and UAI, or with a straw from Mossy Oak Mudslinger or Bushwhack. Like, dear God, what's going to come out of that? You know what I mean? Like, so these animals now are just absolutely phenomenal. Like, you get, like, I've got a friend that's a tie-down roper near us, and he's training roping horses, and he hasn't ever told me a number, but I know that they're not cheap. It's incredible. But to compete now, you got to have those.
You have to, and to say they're not cheap is an understatement, because the bigger thing is like, oh, even if you have the money, okay, find one. They're in such high demand, they're so hard to get hold of, but the stock is just unbelievable. And I mean, if you take a bull rider from the mid '90s and you put them on one of those bulls today, I mean, what would actually happen? You got to wonder if they, without kind of the new evolution of the rodeo athletes themselves, would they even be able to hang on these animals? I mean,
again, probably a certain few could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I was talking to a guy that's associated with PBR. Asked him, hey, what was the difference of bulls back when you're riding bulls now? And he said, bulls when I was riding, there was 30, 40 ranked bulls, and you might get one. He said, now they're all ranked. He said, every single one of them, you could be 90 on. But then we circle back around to look at the athletes now as opposed to look at the athletes then. Not saying those guys weren't ranked, gritty, and tough. Yes, absolutely, hands down.
You got to be to get on any bull, let's be real.
Have to be. When you're competing with a 2,000, 1,500 pound, 2,000 pound pissed off animal, you got to have everything screwed on pretty tight. And I don't care. I mean, just with your sister, as well as I do, is those barrel horses get stupid in the alleyways.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's it. But you've got to hang on to that freaking rocket. You know what I mean? So these animals they're insane. So if you're going to compete, you've got to be at their level, at your peak physical ability to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys training the people you do. I kind of want to circle back to how you kind of came to the methods of training these people. Like, how did you kind of deduce that the way that you guys are doing it was the right way? And kind of what was your mindset to get to where you are now, where people completely, I mean, because I've talked to Tim, Kai, like those guys, and they completely trust you guys 100%. So, I mean, how did you get there?
I mean, the sport has evolved, so we've had to evolve with it.
Right.
And it's just something that we've learned because these guys come in daily basis for 3-4 hours at a time. We know these guys, and we've seen how they've evolved. So we've been able to put something together that works for Kai that may not be or work well for somebody else. You know what I mean? So it's the fact that they're coming in daily. They're showing us and they're telling us, I care. I want to get better. So they're coming in and we're learning how they work and what works for them and what doesn't. So along with them, we're also evolving with them. You know what I mean? So we're able to take kind of where we started at the beginning. If you looked at our workouts in the beginning, you'd laugh because it was kind of just putting our fillers out there, just kind of seeing what worked and what didn't. Okay. And then we can say, well, this was really, really bad for so-and-so. We need to kick it up a little bit. We need to change. We need to tweak something.
When I first started in rodeo sports medicine, I got to really know Dr. J. Pitt Evans really well. He's a phenomenal individual. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be sitting here because the world of rodeo sports medicine wouldn't exist. Great man. But one thing that he did teach me was you need to know your guys. You need to really get to know them so they trust you. So when we first started in 2016, we didn't have the facility that we do now. Fenton-Wise is a immaculate 72,000 square foot facility. And sports medicine is specific for rodeo athletes in the morning times when we've got certain schedules and stuff like that. But you're able to get these guys on a one-on-one basis or a 1-on-4 or 5 basis. Like Cliff will have, Keith, Jim, and I will be working on these guys, as far as medical treatments and stuff like that, like bumps, bruises, all those types of injuries that you deal with. And then, Cliff will take a group and train with them and, do whatever specifically he does. Like, we all understand as a collective unit what works well for these guys, how best, because some of these guys, if you wear them out where they can't move, they're probably not going to come back. You know what I mean? So it's kind of kick gloves with a few of them, but we understand these guys. Like, we know, like he said, first time it was like, all right, this is what we know how to do. Let's see what happens. Well, some things work more specifically for your adductors and muscles on the inside of your legs to help you squeeze. Core, let's target these particular areas because it's going to help them benefit during rides and stuff like that. So it was a learning curve, and the guys, luckily the guys really, really trusted us. And I think the numbers have shown it's kind of cool. At one point you sat around the sports medicine room and it was full. It was like February, March. And you look around, there was like 37 world championship buckles in that room at one time. We just like, this is like, I think a year after we'd opened. Mm-hmm. And it was like, holy cow, like this took off.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is it's not one discipline. It's not just bull riders. It's tie-down ropers. It's bulldoggers. It's everybody in there.
It's everybody.
And it's so neat because you just got world champions just feeding off world champions in there. And it's awesome to see these guys come in there and really feed off each other and trust what we're doing and just go to work.
You take winners like to associate themselves with winners. Kids who quite haven't won yet but still have that drive can learn something from these people that have been around that, have the buckles hanging off the shelf and stuff like that. So it's really cool. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Because if you look at it, you guys started doing this in 2016. Before that, I mean, there wasn't really anything like it, right? So
Fit-wise has been around longer than 2016.
Yeah.
The new building kind of launched us into a different playing field. We've had some bull riders coming in before then, but we had a CrossFit rig in there that we could do some stuff with. We called it our straps room, TRX type stuff. This new building kind of opened it up, and it kind of blew open what we were able to do with these guys.
Look,
Flowers.
I completely threw you under the bus.
You
I mean, it's
did.
really not your fault.
I know. Fuck.
Completely threw you under the bus.
Are we recording right now?
We are. Yeah,
Are
I'm trying to get you some brownie points right now. Keep talking about how great your wife is.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. It's funny because like we'll go fishing. She's got it on her ring and it's all blinged out, and she's got her nails done. She's got worm guts all over her hands, and she's got her hair in a ponytail and the ball cap on. And I'm like, that's badass. She's pretty cool. She's awesome.
No, that's great. How long have you been married to her?
3 years.
3 years.
We got married on April 1st, April Fool's Day.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was in San Antonio.
How many people didn't believe that you actually got married?
Well, it was like I got this question of like, is this a joke? I'm like, no, like we're actually getting married. Like, but why on April Fool's? I'm like, why not? It's on a Saturday, dude. What?
It's a perfect day. It's a Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. And I really, the day before we were getting married, we were going to the rehearsal dinner, and I wasn't paying attention. Was backing her truck up, and I backed into a freaking rock wall. I was like, oh shit. Oh, and like I looked at her, and I was like, I didn't see the wall. She's like, it's been there all damn day. And the kids are in the back, just slow clap, golf clap. I'm like, that's enough. Oh, so I was like, shit, she's not marrying me. No, she did.
She let it go.
Yeah, she did. Well, no,
she didn't let it go.
She still reminds me all the time about how. You remember that time you backed my truck into the wall? I'm like, oh yeah.
Females don't let anything go.
No.
Yeah, that's kind of unanimous with all of them. Yeah.
That's the only thing that she won't let go. Everything else, she's not that I'm bad or anything, but shut up.
Why are you laughing so much?
Because he's an idiot.
just try not to cough in the mic.
Drink your drink. Oh.
I mean, so how long have you guys? Okay, so to kind of go away from that, I'm just curious because I don't know how long have you guys actually known each other. You guys seem to be pretty tight.
So I moved to. 04. I moved to Abilene, Texas, August 13th of 2004. I'm originally from upstate New York. Grew up dairy farming and vineyards and baseball and stuff like that. And, so I've been in Texas, 16 years this August, and he was a year ahead of me. And so I don't know if I've ever told you this. I remember first day I meet him, I'm like, God, that guy looks like a douche. But he ended up living directly across the street from me, and he played baseball in high school, and great. He was a really good ball player, and so we take BP together and throw the ball around. Just kind of was like, we get done with all of our homework or something, we'd be like, F this, like this sucks. You want to go hit? Yeah, let's go hit. So it was
the house that I actually rented in college was right next to the right field of the baseball field, so we'd jump the fence and go in the batting cage and sit out there anytime we wanted.
And he's an idiot and got married when he was like 21 years old.
I was 22. She was 21.
Oh, it's close. And they moved, obviously. And so we'd spend Friday, Saturday nights, we'd grill out and drink beer on the fire. And out in Abilene, you'd get West Texas Friday and Saturday nights on the radio station.
I lived in Abilene for about a year.
Did you really?
One point, yeah.
Did you like it?
No.
My wife hates the cold. Otherwise, I'd probably go back to Abilene.
You liked Abilene?
Man, the
Kind
restaurant
of like a little. Well, okay. There's Joe Allen's, the steakhouse
the steakhouse
by whatever that lake's called. It's right there. Joe Allen's Steakhouse is a great restaurant.
When was the last time you went?
Yeah.
How last time I went there? Well, by what you're saying, it must not be there anymore.
It's there, but it's not the same.
Really?
No.
I don't know.
He
Those
actually moved
steaks,
buildings
those
and
ribeye steaks they used to do. I mean, this was like 2013, probably.
Where were we? I was in Forney. Sharon Allen's barbecue. They're
Yeah.
really good. So Lotto Land and Kettle.
I've been there. Not
Yep.
as good as that other restaurant was, though.
Perini's. If you ever go back,
Perini's is in Tuscola, right?
Tuscola.
Man, they've got the best freaking ribeye. It's so yeah. I spent 3.5 years in Abilene. And it was a large town.
Yeah, I worked out at, there was this gym called Powerhouse Gym. I worked out there for a little bit, and I wasn't there long.
Where were
but-
you in Abilene?
Why?
Yeah.
I was working out there. I was going to go to school and stuff at ACU didn't end up doing that. But
ECU.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah.
yeah, the girl I was dating, who is now my wife, was like, she went over and looked at all of it and was like, I don't think this is for us. So we went back to Colorado. But
Yeah, that would have been a culture shock. Colorado.
yeah, she
Abilene,
went to
Texas.
CSU and CU, and it was like ASU. She's just not feeling it.
No.
So I don't blame her. So we got out of there.
Yeah.
But
I remember driving through. My dad and I loaded up my truck and drove straight through. Driving through East Texas, I'm like, all right, Rolling Hills, Piney Woods, this is cool. Weatherford, I'm like, all right, Cedar Trees, this is still pretty neat. We hit the top of Ranger Hill, and I'm like, where the hell am I going? It literally turned as flat as this table. I was just like, oh, this is going to be interesting. 106. I was like,
Mesquite trees.
mesquite trees, and that's about it. Cactus, rattlesnakes.
Mm.
But it was, yeah, we kind of bounced around. We were both, so he graduated a year ahead of me and went to Stephen F. Austin. And then I graduated and didn't want to go back to school because I was tired of it. And then I'm going to Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were fairly close and still kept in touch. We'd Facebook message, or he'd send me a message. He'd send me a text and I'd be like, who the hell is this? It's Keith, you idiot. I'm bad about saving phone numbers. But yeah, and he would freaking keep pestering me about, hey, you want a job? I'm like, no, I don't want to go to Finwise. Yeah, well, here I am. So yeah, we've got
Met your wife. Did everything.
yeah, thank you for that.
yeah, I guess you owe him a little credit.
I do.
Well,
I do.
hold on. What about him was so douchey? Because it's like,
Man.
no offense, but he's the nice one in this
I
relationship
know.
you guys
No,
got.
when we were in college, he had this goatee. You had that little like.
Wait, like a Limp Bizkit soul patch?
Seriously.
Yes, yeah.
No, I got a picture. Where's my phone? Where's my phone?
Okay, Fred Durst, let's hear some
No,
more.
it was awful. He just looked like, and he had a ball cap on backwards, and he just had this like, he's from Austin. I mean, you can't expect too much. It's a true story.
True.
Yeah.
You are from Austin.
Yeah.
I will never understand the keep Austin weird thing. You might have to explain
It's
that to
not
me.
the same anymore.
He can't
It's a
stand
different
it.
Austin
Yeah.
now. I don't like going there now.
We went and worked a bullfight down there, and he was like, man, when I was in high school, this wasn't here, and this wasn't here, and this wasn't here. And he's like, man, this place is so freaking weird.
I mean, that's how Colorado is. I mean, we all grew up meaning me and my sisters grew up in Colorado. It is a different place. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
It's insane.
We used to have a food truck park was awesome, and we went there every weekend, my wife and I, and then we go back. It's on Congress, and then we went back one weekend, and all the food trucks are gone, and they're putting a high-rise condo there. The Broken Spoke. You've heard everybody sing about the Broken Spoke down there in Lamar. It's honestly, it's the Broken Spoke, and then in a U shape around it, high-rise condos. It's just not the same. It's not. It's weird.
Yeah, there's a common denominator for all of those once great places. It's like people from California move in and say goodbye to what was great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. No, it wasn't a goatee. It was more like the douchey Fred Durst look. See? Look.
Come on.
See?
Why are you laughing? Shut up.
What? Well, so, okay.
You hadn't even seen it.
Here's what I don't understand. Why did you stop here? Why not just, like, there was no hair up here?
Yeah, that's because he was 12 and he
Yeah,
couldn't
come
grow
on.
hair up there yet.
Dude, I saw a documentary on
Did you see it?
Netflix. It was about tigers, and there's a dude in it.
No,
Same
never seen
guy.
that.
It was that. It was this
you know,
guy.
it might
He's Joe
be.
Exotic.
It's a
Never.
doppelganger. That's a better one.
It's not douchey. That's badass.
Okay, that's early 2000s. I want to be in the MLB. I get it.
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, there you
See?
go. There you go. Man, but we were like,
That's like the mullet right now. All the kids who play baseball are like bringing the mullet back.
Dude,
Only
the
baseball players.
Bullfighters. The Tucker Lane. Is it Tucker Lane McBoy? No.
Yeah, Tucker Lane.
Tucker Lane. Sorry, idiot. My bad, Tucker, if you listen to this.
Well, Tucker Lane's his middle name.
Okay. But he's Joe Dirt. Like, that fool literally from day one has had a mullet. And, like, we'll go to the finals. We'll cover, we're sports medicine team for Bullfighters only. And all the finals in Vegas the same time the NFR. And, like, there'll be these little kids, like 6, 7, 8 years old, rolling up with a mullet and a Tucker jersey on. I'm like, oh, this poor kid. Like, you are just, what are you doing to him? And he eats it up. Like, that fool, he rolled into Kennewick, Washington at a bullfight, and he just got it permed. Like, old school.
Is he married?
No, he's like 12.
15, yeah.
Yeah, he's, I don't know. I think, is he 21, 22? No, because he graduated high school 2 years ago. I think he just turned 21, maybe. But it's rough, dude. I'm like, homie.
Dude, all of them. It's like, I'm going to say, as you know, I like to joke. But it's just like, hey, opposite sex. Yeah, exactly. Don't hit me. I don't think you can reach. That's why I did the table this wide.
Smart.
But it was very smart for me to keep my face YouTube ready. But it's just like, hey, opposite sex, I'm good. No thanks.
Yeah.
It's like, I see you over there. You see this? I don't want it.
Yeah, no, we're good.
No, we don't need
Stalker.
it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You're a girl, but no thanks.
It's weird.
Mullet, perm.
Man, that was a rabbit hole. Where did your douchey picture from college.
Yeah, nothing
That's
the
what
same,
it was.
Nothing the same.
I mean, it wasn't as bad, but if you have a son, maybe you already do. I don't know.
Two.
Don't let him do that. Just don't let him do that.
Just don't.
The oldest one's a baseball player, and the youngest one's just a firecracker.
He's gonna wear you out.
He's missing his front 2 teeth because he was riding his little Strider bike. You've seen those?
The bikes with no pedals?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Teaches them kind of balance. And it's awesome. I mean, he was riding a bicycle when he was 3 years old, like an actual bicycle when he was 3 years old.
He's gonna be a hell of an athlete.
Because-
Really?
Yeah, he's gonna.
But he was riding a Strider bike, and he turned too sharp and went over the front and knocked his front teeth out. So now he's missing his front teeth.
Were those like the old teeth or the new teeth?
Baby teeth, so no big deal. We
Oh, there you
pulled
go.
him.
They come out anyway.
Yeah, next day he was back on that Strider bike.
Really? Not scared at all.
Not
Oh,
at
he's
all.
gonna be that guy. He's gonna be that kid that he's gonna be like, "Don't do that," and he's just gonna look at him just with just resentment and do it anyway. Just get the tar beat out of him, and he's just gonna be like, "Is that all you got, Dad?"
So here's an interesting question. You're in the rodeo industry, but you're not a rodeo person yourself necessarily, or did you rodeo ever?
Me personally, I've never rodeoed.
Yeah.
But since I've always enjoyed the sport because it is, it's how things had to be done back in the day.
Yeah.
They just made it a sport now, right?
Totally.
It's how it used to be. They had to do it to make a living and survive and all that kind of stuff. Now it's a sport, and we got these athletes doing it. So I never actually rodeoed myself, but I've kind of made it a point to try to do all these
Learn
things.
the tools of the trade.
So I've ridden a steer.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best 3.3 seconds of my life.
It was
Twice?
a train wreck.
3.3 seconds.
3.3.
Not so bad.
It was funny.
It
The
was-
dismount was epic.
I basically, they were telling me to, lean forward. I'm like, nah.
I don't want to go over the top.
I'm going to bell off right here. Yeah. So, and Cliff Cooper taught us to tie some calves. We tied them from a pole, but that was fun. He's taught us how to throw a rope. We try to experience what these guys experience on a basis so that we can, when they came off, when they come into our clinic and they're like, I got bucked off and I landed on my hip. I'm like, I know exactly how you feel.
understand.
I know
Yeah.
exactly how you feel. It's unfortunately I can't say I've never, I can't say I know how it's feel to tear an ACL. I've never done it. But all the other kind of stuff I can kind of say, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So we've kind of made it a goal to kind of try to do the same things that they do so we can kind of experience on a smaller scale what they do daily on a larger scale.
Totally. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, just the way you were talking about his kid, I mean, if your kid wants to be a roughie, are you going to let him do it?
See, that's the beauty of my kids is we, 4 years ago, we moved out of the city. Now, Decatur is not a big city. We've got 6,500 people, but I moved to a town that's got 1,400. And we have an acre and a half. It's not a lot, but in the city, we had a third of an acre. So as soon as we moved out there, it's like, kids, you do whatever the heck you want to do. I'm going to allow my kids to do whatever they want to do as long as they're happy and they commit 100% to do that. So if he wants to be a roughie, yeah, fine, sure. But you're going to have to practice. You're going to have to prove yourself before you actually get in an arena with whatever. If they tell me they want to, I'm not sure how familiar, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with freestyle bullfighting, but if he comes to me and he says, I want to be a freestyle bullfighter, I'm like, fantastic. Prove yourself right now. You know, let's get on this little calf right here, this baby, and see how you do before you step in with the big one. You know, it's
That's fun.
Everything I make my kids do, they've got to prove they're going to be able to do it so that they can succeed at that level. You
Right.
know, it's not my kids. My kids have never had anything just handed to them, and it's not. I'm not going to allow that. They have to work. My kid works out 4 times. He's doing something 4 times out of a 5-day work week, whether it be baseball lessons or agility training, or I started getting them in boxing. You know, just keeping them active. This COVID has probably been the best thing for my kid because, you know, unfortunately there's no school, but he's been able to stay active and get stronger. You know what I mean? So I'm going to make my kids prove themselves.
And that's something that parenting is lacking now is, you know, kind of making your kids earn it. You know, there's no freaking ribbon for 25th place, you know, and it's just, unfortunately there is, but like if you raise your kids to be the best that they can be and grind and grit and get through it and work for it, I think that says something. You know what I mean? Hopefully, pray to God that parents start raising their kids the way that Keith does. Like I said, I've known him for a very long time. Like, you know, his youngest, when I moved to Decatur, his youngest was 18 months.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
I mean, yeah, he was, but like, and to see him grow and like, it's pretty cool. Like, and he's going to be, like I said, he's going to be an athlete. Like, kid's tough, like just, he's gonna be your nightmare, I think.
We had, you know, Tim was in clinic months ago, but you know there wasn't at the time. There was no rodeos going on, so Tim could easily just not come in or whatever.
Yeah.
But I had my kid in there with me, and I was like, "Watch this!" And Tim's over there just grinding. I'm like, "That's what it takes to be a world champ." You know, so that's been. I've had several times where my kids been able to travel with me or come into clinic and see these world champions working, and it's fantastic. You know, we talked earlier about the new world athlete, the new world rodeo athletes, and I'm able to expose my kids to it. You know, and if we can expose this younger generation to this kind of stuff, I think the Western sports world is just going to explode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it in other sports.
Baseball.
Baseball
is insane.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Any of the sports, is these athletes keep on getting freakier and freakier, and rodeo is like 30 years behind all that, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to start seeing it soon.
Well, we kind of are with the junior NFR.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. The very first, was it 16?
With BFO?
No. When we were working the Roy Cooper's roping deal.
I think so.
16, we were in the finals, and we talked our way into working the junior NFR. But at that point, it was just bareback, tie down, and bulls. And like, you're seeing these kids literally like miniature riggins, like strapping themselves on the back of a freaking little pony that'll buck. I mean, I was like, dear God. And then literally 3 years later, they almost have a full, you know, they've got barrel racing, they've got saddle bronc, they've got
breakaway, tie down,
it's just, it's insane how like, I think rodeo's picked it up pretty quick.
Well, they have, and the way that they do the junior NFR, it's so convenient. You know, over at Cowboy Christmas, it's right there. I mean, you can see it on the screens, and it's just they know they're doing it right.
They are.
So,
and Justin Sports Medicine's there covering those guys now, and you know, they do a great job, and but it's just like it's crazy now, the commitment and like the parents and these athletes. They're like, I remember I was sitting on the plane 2 years ago, flying to Vegas, and I was sitting next to the dad of a bareback rider. Kid was like 9, and the entire flight to Vegas, he showed me his phone of the pictures of all of his son and all the trophies and all the buckles he's won, and I'm like, it's saddles, and I'm like, dude, that's awesome. I'm not gonna be rude to him. He's proud of his kid. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And so I sat there for 2.5 hours, literally absorbing all this. But it was like, dang, this sport's it's going crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's catching up to the other sports, which is what I mean. That's what we all want, right? We all want to see the sport of rodeo flourish and grow. You know, we don't want it. I mean, a few years ago, it was going backwards. And knock on wood, praise God, whatever you want to say, it is.
And I pay attention to PRC News. I think the new president's really trying to do his best to make this into a business, but bring money in and do. I mean,
Well, George Taylor came from NASCAR.
Right.
So, I mean, he's got a totally different perspective that he can bring to rodeo.
Well, when he changed it from where it just wasn't Wrangler, also cinches involved. You know what I mean? Like when he did that, I was kind of like, I remember I was like, oh, did he just do that? And I know it pissed a lot of people off, but he's like, this is what's going to be best for our sport. But he knows like NASCAR, their fan base is going away. You know, the older fans are, you know, sad to say dying off. And, you know, NASCAR is still kind of one of those grassroots sports, just like rodeo. You know, it's been around since the moonshine days. I mean, shoot, we, for the last couple of years, we were covering Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
You know, if you think that NASCAR is just, and not to get off the rodeo topic, but if you think NASCAR is just a sport for rednecks now with Budweisers and Camel Lights, like the pit crews, these pit crews, literally they will go to the NFL Combine and they will watch the Combine and they take X amount of players from the Combine. They basically take, I wouldn't say the scrubs, but they take, they're you know, 1AA, they're still high caliber athletes that they're recruiting for these pit crews. So like we'd work on these pit crews and some of the drivers, it's just like these guys grind. So like their schedule is they basically work like 8 hours a day, but they work out 2 hours in the morning and then 2 hours in the afternoon. And then in the middle, they're basically practicing. Like if you lift a full can of gas, it's like 200 pounds of tires. I don't even know how much it weighs, but like grassroots sports, they are now paying attention to physical aspects being key to success and longevity. And I mean, that was another rabbit hole.
No, not at all. I mean, it's all kind of ties in, but you mentioned like you're seeing it with NASCAR. And I don't know much about NASCAR because it's just not really something I've ever took much of an interest in, but you're seeing fan base loss. Well, I mean, rodeo, it's like you're seeing kind of, and I think we can thank social media for a lot of the evolution of rodeo, to be honest, because I mean, there's starting to be a changing of the guard, right? And everybody's going to kind of come around. And I think as long as the proper steps are taken and the right mindset shift is made, you won't see what's happening in NASCAR, like what you said. And I actually can't speak on that because I don't know, but what you're saying, that won't happen with rodeo because of things like this and you know, evolving.
When you look at the PBR, when you look at the crowds in like Manhattan or Madison Square Garden, Chicago, people from the north love bull riding, but the spread of I don't even know how many followers PBR has on Instagram anymore, but like that's
several hundred thousand.
Yeah, like I'll go back home.
Not a million.
No, I mean I'll go back home to upstate New York, and my mom's friends that she went to high school with, they're like, you know, what are you doing now? I'm like, oh, I'm working Fit by Sports Medicine, covering pro rodeo, and we watch the PBR all the time. What? Are you serious? Oh my gosh. They're like, oh, we love so-and-so, or we love so-and-so. I'm like, do you know them? I'm like, yeah. And I'm not trying to be a jerk.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give them their full history, but I'm like, yeah, I know oh my gosh, we think they're so great. I'm like, holy cow. You know, it's incredible what social media, I mean, Rodeo Rex. I know that you're talking about Rodeo Rex with Kai.
Rodeo Rex, dude. I love that Instagram page. I love watching people get jacked up.
Gabby's she's a friend of FitWise. Like, you know, she does
cool. The flow rodeo and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. People like train wrecks. They don't want to. You can't look away from them. So to see someone just getting piss pounded by a freaking horse up against the panel, people are going to watch that, and then all of a sudden they're going to go, "Oh, hey, you know, they tagged so and so. Who's this?" And you click on it, then all of a sudden it's a rodeo athlete. Like, then they start. You know, that's where those type of pages. Or was it Cowboy News, Cowboy Network News?
Cowboy Channel?
Cowboy Channel.
Yes.
Like they're over top of everything. It's the only thing that sucks is when you're following so much Western sports on social media in December during the NFR. You can't keep up with it. It's just a whooping. It's like you just put your phone away. I'll look at it in a month.
No, there's just no way. I mean, it's like crazy. It's a lot of the same stuff, but you know, it's funny because you said Rodeo Rex. You could listen to the Colton and Kai's episode.
Yeah.
I knew we were watching.
Like, that's me.
It's like, hey, Rodeo Rex, how about you tag him?
Yeah, and I was looking.
She probably didn't know it was him, but
probably not. But I have thought about
going through my phone and see if I couldn't find that video because it was, what was it? Was he getting it?
It wasn't him who got jacked up. It was the gate man. Yeah.
Oh, it was the gate man?
Yeah,
so
he
was
jacked
right.
up. I don't know what happened. I can't remember, but
We had, was it a BFO? One of the gate guys, I can't remember where the hell it was. He got smoked. It was a BFO. The freaking, have you ever watched the BFO event?
I have not, actually.
You have not?
Yeah.
Bullfighters Only is...
Although bullfighting, God, that's come such a long way in just the last few years.
These guys are incredible. Like, I remember one of the very first Western athletes I've ever saw, it was a Discovery Channel episode about Rob Schmetz. He broke his neck three times, maybe 4. But after each neck surgery and he recovered, he would win the world back when the PRC bullfighting was around and stuff like that. But he had always, I remember they showed him a picture of him training. He's on a treadmill, and Rob's not a very tall guy. He's pretty stout. But that was my idea of a bullfighter when I first moved here in 2004. And then now with, I started working rodeos, and I was around Dusty Tuckness and Andy Burrell, Cody Webster, those guys. The sport of freestyle bullfighting in general is absolutely freaking insane. The stuff that they're doing, like, it was Mercer doing the freaking mercy roll over top of, and like in Fortuna.
I know that is insanity,
dude. If you go to BFO's page, scroll down to Fortuna, California, last year in July. This fool who did he have? What bull was it?
Who?
Mercer. Oh, it was one of the top five bulls. This sucker's rank. Throws a mercy roll over this bull.
Ty, pull that up real quick. Pull up Mercy roll.
This fool has got so many hops. They call him the bunny. So this is insane. This is his first year. There's Keith right there. There's Keith. There's me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Keith's synonymous for getting caught picking his nose on camera. It's awesome.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, wrong.
Or combing his beard.
Combing the beard. Probably.
Yeah. So, sheer toughness. This kid he's got more. He doesn't have as much brains as sense. Great kid. Love Mercer to death. But
he actually started riding bucking horses.
Yeah. So then the whole entire fight was just bad.
Holy.
Yeah. Like just wore out. But just still, his pants are half ripped off. And he's gritty, man.
So here's a question, because I'm not all that versed in bullfighting,
right?
Outside of what they do, as far as keeping bulls off people at the NFR and PBR events. Like, how do they score that? I mean, because if you just look at it,
so they score it the same way as they do bull riding. So the bull gets a bull score, and the guy gets the athlete, the bullfighter gets a score as well. So it's based on the same bull scale. So when you throw moves, so like the mercy roll, it's not an act. It's a so you got to stay engaged with the bull. You got to stay in contact with the bull. So you got to stay a certain distance. You got to keep the bull engaged all the time. So when you start throwing tricks around him, whether it's a fake, it's a back fake, it's a jumping over the bull, it's a barrel hop, it's stuff like that. You got to keep that bull. So the longer you can keep that bull engaged and keep him off you, the higher your score is going to be. But if that bull is rank and will not leave you and just tries to hook you down all the time, that bull score is going to be higher. So his score, I don't remember what that bull score was. That bull scored really well.
Because just lit him up. I have to think
it would not go away, would not leave him. And it was crazy. Is like that bull. We've seen that bull do some bad things to people, but like you try to get that bull's attention for him to leave the guy, and he's so laser. That bull is so laser focused that he typically won't. And that's a great bull. But those guys, so 30 years ago, 20 years ago, bullfighters were rodeo clowns. Well, no.
Entertainers.
Like yeah. Well, that's not the case. Like Rob Schmetz said, like, I'm a security guard. Mm-hmm. I'm Secret Service for the president. My job is to protect that guy. So that's where cowboy protection bullfighters came from. The rodeo clown is still the guy in the barrel.
Yeah.
We just lost Liesl Harris a couple months ago, and I got to be around him at Weatherford a few times working with Justin Sports Medicine, and he was a great. He's got story upon story upon story. But he'd been doing it forever. You know what I mean? Like those guys, those clown acts. Quotation marks. I think those are starting to go away too. Like you're just
You don't
not,
see it.
You
Yeah.
really don't.
It's not- when I was a kid, it was like when you were a kid and you weren't so interested in the rodeo, you want to hear the clown crack jokes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like Tom Fellers was a Coors Mannequin for I can't remember what year, but he that's what he says is you don't those guys aren't coming around anymore. Like we've got one guy Tate Rhodes, Tate's out of Montana. He does a lot of the Cody Nice rodeo stuff, and he'll still act. Like he'll still put on clown acts. It's funny because he can rope too. Like he's a pretty salty calf roper, so he'll enter the calf roping while he's clowning, and he'll borrow someone's horse and he'll literally rope and flank and tie a calf in his freaking clown outfit with his face paint on and all of his goofy stuff on. Hell, he won. I think he won more money roping at the Cody Nights rodeo than he did clowning. Like it's funny. Like you're like, there's no way. And he's a goofy son of a gun.
All these bullfighters are athletes. So everybody in the Western sports are athletes. So like he mentioned, we got one. Tanner Zarnetsky is actually a bull rider. So he'll go and protect, and he'll jump on a bull and ride a bull too.
Where were we? Denton. Mm-hmm. Denton, North Texas Fair and Rodeo. They had a bull ride protection match afterwards. And was there a bet like you won't? He rode this freaking bull. You still have his cleats on?
Oh yeah, his bullfighting cleats on, no chaps, no nothing. Just
I think he stayed on about 5-6 seconds.
He did pretty decent.
Yeah, he did pretty good for literally borrowed rope, a helmet, and football cleats. But these guys are, I mean, Weston Rakowski's 3-time world champ. That fool trains his tail off. I mean, just he actually went to Florida. He got a degree in not physical education, kinesiology, I think, something like that. But he went to Florida and took a specific training class. So like Weston's actually a certified personal trainer. So like, but he'll come into the facility and he'll draw his own workouts up. Every once in a while he'll jump in one of ours, but like these guys, it's just there's a strength and agility. So bullfighters, there are a lot of agility training.
Oh, you gotta be.
Yeah, quick feet drills,
very
balance
obvious.
Drills. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So that's where there essentially need to be a freaking linebacker, or not a linebacker. They need to be a running back, getting out of the way of a defensive tackle or a linebacker or something like that. But it's pretty cool.
The bullfighters' workouts are going to be different than anybody else, and that's what I mentioned earlier. Is everybody's so individual. The stuff we do for bullfighters, we probably wouldn't, except maybe core. Everybody can do the same core, but the workouts we do with our bullfighters are going to be different than what we do for obviously anybody else. A team roper would never need to do a bullfighter's workout. Our bullfighters
It'd be fun for them though.
We're working a lot of like body explosion stuff. So. Sorry. Unfortunately, you saw Aaron Mercer on the ground there. So we've got to teach and work with Aaron Mercer that when he's on the ground, he's got to be able to get up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a lot of like one-legged box hops, or box jumps from the knees, or we're gonna box jump, then we're gonna lateral shift or something. So it just goes back to everybody's so individual and every discipline is so different. We just can't label. You go to a big box gym, it's like, here's your weights, go have fun. It's when they come into us, it's everybody's got their own workout. Let's treat you as you, and let's go from there.
I don't know where this came from, but we've talked about the history of rodeo for the last 200 years. You remember that quote or that poem in 8 seconds, the rodeo legacy?
The one at the end when the movie's done, yeah.
Yeah. There's 100 years of history. I don't know for that. I'll gather that on a thing going on by this head. It's that Baxter Black poem.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy if you literally look at the sport that was from guys roping and tying a calf in the pasture to doctor, or got to work this steer so you're bulldogging them, or just all of this, breaking colts. I mean, you grew up around horses. Breaking
Oh my
colts.
God, I broke colts for money.
Breaking colts
long
sucks.
enough to know that is not a viable career.
No, or it just is not fun in general.
It's not good for your health.
No,
I've been
it's
slammed
not.
into too many panels.
Yeah, it sucks. I've got buddies that call me, hey, I was breaking this colt and I got broke ribs. What did I do? Suck it up. It's going to suck. Sorry.
More dislocated shoulders. And there is not a worse job than breaking colts. That's just my opinion, because for a long time, it's the only way I personally knew how to make money. And $10 a ride on somebody else's horse. It's not viable. Don't do that if you don't have to, people.
How would you feel about trying to break this colt and you've gone for like 3 weeks and you can't break him, and the guy comes and picks him up and you're like, sorry, man, I can't break this colt. And next thing you know, that sucker's bucking in the PRCA. What would you think about that?
I would think that I should be thanking my lucky stars to be alive right now.
Yeah. Or if you can actually stay on that sucker, go get your card and see what happens.
You know what's funny is I remember this like it was nothing. It's actually, I don't think I've told a single story of my own on this, but
Sweet. We're long-winded.
well, it's the nature of it. It's about the guest. But I was at a barrel race of all things, riding this piece. I mean, it was a well-bred horse. Funny enough, this horse was my sister's great horse, Tibby, that won HIIT Horse of the Year in 2016. Her mother, this was a full brother of that mare, and he's a piece of trash.
Really?
For some reason. Yeah, he was out on the ranch, out in nowhere, and I'm probably going to get kicked by somebody who's got that horse right now, and maybe he's great. But at the time, for me, he was not good. The freaking horse wouldn't stop bucking.
Yeah.
So, and I was taking outside horses to get money. I was in high school and about to get out, but I was at this barrel race and loping this horse in circles, and that freaking horse busted out like he probably should have been.
That's funny.
Right for the PRCA. And for whatever reason, I was able to get a hold of this horse, and I had like 3 or 4 people come, can you come break horses for me?
No. Hard pass.
I was like, sure, totally.
Are you serious?
I was like, dude, I wanted money so bad. It was just like, yeah, absolutely. Worst decision ever. Like breaking colts, it is not a viable
That's like this
way to make money long term. For me anyway.
Let's snort Tabasco sauce for $5 and see how fun this is. That's kind of like the equivalent. Like, let me get on a crazy headstrong horse that literally does not want anybody or anything on his back. See just like how long this lasts.
Without any protection in a freaking round pen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the wrong saddle for it. Everything.
You know what they call that? They call that bareback riding.
It's bareback riding.
Dude, and I've told this to numerous bareback riders. They're tough as all get out. It's a train wreck. It's hard. I love watching bareback, especially during the NFR, because it's phenomenal. But it's like, I'm like, oh, ow. But then you watch something like Saddle Bronc where it's smooth and fluid and everything, especially your timing. Like Brody Cress, he's a buddy of ours. Brody's great to watch. I mean, you've got all the rights. You know what I mean? It's just, it's smooth. But it's like, man, bareback riders are.
It's just such a different thing, but
it's that mentality.
You know what has always worried me, especially when you have bareback riders who are your friends and you know them, like we're seeing the effects of CTE on football players. Right. You're starting to see it in boxers and combat athletes and other. I can't think of a sport and anything that is got to be more traumatic on the brain than bareback riding.
Because it's 8 seconds of banging your head off.
Banging your head on an ass made of steel, literally.
Basically, yeah. It's this makes me sound stupid. I don't know if I'm sure they're starting to do research on this. But I know the PBR they put devices on the back of these bulls last year that would test the G-forces. It'd be interesting to see if they could develop something that would test the amount of PSI on the back of a bareback rider's head as he bounces off a horse. Most of these guys is crazy. Most of these guys get off the picket men, and like especially in the NFR when you see them because of close and camera angles, like they're like kind of squinting their eyes and they're rattled. But rattled's not a word that we use anymore. But there's, you can't imagine the freaking brain slamming in the back of the skull.
It's just the first thing I think of is it cannot be good for your brain.
No.
And you have a neck roll,
Yeah, and there are there's certain things like that will help protect, but one of the things that will help is, circling back around to this whole podcast, is to make sure that you are as fine-tuned as you can be before you get on the back of one of those horses.
Absolutely.
Whether it's, Dr. Sean Scott is a chiropractor out of Marble Falls. He's a good friend of mine. He really is a big advocate for what we do, and he works really well with bareback riders as just getting them, make sure they're in peak physical condition. He saved a lot of careers, but he's very conscious of head and neck stuff with these guys. It's just, that it doesn't look like fun to me. I don't ever want to try that. It's something I'll never want to do.
Yeah, it would be so interesting to see some of the stuff that you were talking about. I think just the thing with bareback is just too small of a group.
It
And
is.
if you compare it to PBR, I mean, there's just so much more depth and bareback is a small group of guys.
Well, I was listening to a study. I went to a sports medicine seminar, I don't know, 10 years ago, and was listening to a study, and they actually did study bareback riders prior to their career. So they basically took an x-ray of their arms, their extremities, and then I think it was like a 10-year career. They basically tracked these guys, and then they took an x-ray of their arms after it, and the remodeling that occurs after a career of that many years riding bucking horses, just because the angle of your rigging, sticking your hand in a freaking suitcase handle and stuff like that, it does not good things to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just breaks you down over years. That's where, again, circling back around, make sure you're squared away.
Yeah, I mean, that's why guys like you are so important, and the amount of coaching and training you're putting the guys through. I mean, it's a life-changing thing, and just thank God Rodeo is now at the point where guys are hiring personal trainers, and that there is a sports medicine for rodeo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge part of sports, and rodeo needs that.
You know, rodeo sports medicine has been around since the early 90s, and with the evolution of everything else, like it's evolved. You know, like you said, you're talking about CTEs. You know, there's baseline testing now that you can do. And then if someone gets a concussion at the NFR or wherever, there's protocols that they go through to make sure that they're not going to further, damage themselves. Like, Justice Sports Medicine covers the NFR, and they're stringent on their programs. Like, they do a good job taking care of. That's the thing is Rodeo Sports Medicine. We all take care of the same guys. We have the guys that we work on, the same people. We have their best interest in mind, and so we'll talk to them as what's going on. Hey, I saw so and so. This is what happened. Hey, great. This is what I did. There's starting to become a lot of back and forth with, just the teams taking care of the health and well-being of these athletes. I mean, you at the end of the day, it's what's important for them. You know what I mean? You put, I don't care what name's on your shirt. I don't care anything about that. It's those guys in the arena. That's what's important.
It's just what you guys are doing and how you're helping the sport and the athletes and the longevity. I mean, we just get to see such good rodeo now,
It's
and
awesome.
you guys are playing a part of it. I mean, rodeo is like, look at, the setup of the American, that thing in the middle, stupid to me. But the actual rodeo, I mean, the competition, I mean, there was just something when Chad Mayfield went up there and he won that was just, and we've referenced it a few times, but it was just, I don't know what was in the air, but it was just
Electric.
It was electric.
Yes.
And just Kansas City, the WCRA events. I mean, these rodeos are just so freaking good now.
Yeah.
And with this stupid COVID-19
this is a whooping.
mess, and I mean, I just found out today, no Cheyenne. I mean, it is
See, the dad of them all. I don't.
first time it's not had 124 years or something. They said.
Why?
It's-
I mean, okay, soapbox. I understand the COVID-19 virus is bad, but you've literally shut down the entire country for 2 months now.
It's going to be more than 2 months.
Yeah, I mean we're affected by it. We've cut back our hours significantly.
Right.
As a health system, it's. Oh my gosh! And here's the thing that's going to really suck is if they start to allow rodeos now with no fan base. What's that going to do? I mean, the PBR is doing it right now.
Rodeo Houston is going to Northside with no fans.
You can't do that. Northside's.
It's already done.
Are you there?
It's this weekend.
It is.
Yeah, I should
So
say.
how
What's
is
the
that
date? The 26th of this May. This is not going to air right now, obviously.
Today's
But
27th.
27th. I probably shouldn't talk about the dates, but yeah, Rodeo Houston continuation is at Northside.
So how's that working?
Not Dickies. No, Northside.
Oh, Northside.
Yep.
That's a great venue. That's an awesome venue.
Yeah.
I mean,
They had to do something. So I
They
mean, I
did.
get their predicament and everything like that, but fanless rodeos, it's just
well,
it's a
like-
jackpot.
but it's the
Jackpot.
yeah, it's the jackpot. The PBR, like talking to some of the guys, what's it like riding in those, like the Lazy and Guthrie?
Yeah.
It's a freaking mecca of rodeo for a long time. What's that like? Like, man, it was weird at first. Like, you literally, because before you feed off the fans. You know what I mean?
But you need, God, I feel like for a PBR guy, and I don't want to speak for something I've never had any interest in doing, but I mean, I just feel like without the fans, you're missing a big part of that adrenaline rush to go out there and perform.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just, he's like, you're back there slapping yourself in the face, trying to get pumped up. And he said, now that they've done it, a few times, he's like, you've got an idea. So it's just, I don't know. I'm praying to God that this whole mess goes away, because Calgary's already canceled too, correct?
But they've been canceled for over a month at this point. Yeah.
I mean, we had a few guys in clinic right now when Houston canceled, and they were banking on Austin staying open. And then, like, literally 6 hours later, they're like, Austin just shut down.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And people are mad, but what they don't understand is these rodeo committees, it's not them. I mean, it was the mayor who shut down Houston, and then now they can't get insured for the rodeos, and it's just, there's a laundry list of things that are affecting the committees, and it's just, I don't know what they're supposed to do. I mean, I got no advice.
I don't either.
Nor should I speak on anything I don't know about, but
it's hard because that's how these guys get paid. You know what I mean? Like, Justin Cross's fund is set up for injuries and to help out athletes until they get on their feet. But when there's no, like, your sole job is you're a rodeo athlete, that's your primary source of income, what do? Are sponsors still paying out?
Well, it's almost worse not knowing what to do. I mean, at least if they were like, just cancel the year, it's somebody told that to me today. They're like, they should just cancel the year, and at least they can plan for their lives. It's not knowing, and like waiting is worse.
Right. So what would Vegas be like? I know we said we're going to shut this down.
No, it's cool.
What would Vegas be like in December at the Thomas and Mack with no fans?
Well, okay, so
yeah,
we gotta acknowledge the fact that without the ticket sales and all that, they can't do it.
That's true.
So they're not going to do it. But I don't know. They're doing UFC fights in Florida with no fans, and it's just
there was a
what the heck is the NFR without the fans and all the stuff?
Because it's electric.
I just don't think it. I don't see it working. Nor without those ticket sales.
Right. You get horses. Horses act different than Thomas and Mack because the fans are right on top of you. Well, I mean, this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the whole dynamic of, I've been going to Vegas,
for years.
Yeah, a long time. Last year we got tickets, and that was the first time I actually went inside the Thomas and Mack. Holy crap!
Yeah,
like first of all, they were on that thing like clockwork.
Oh, it's amazing. So if you watch the NFR on TV, it takes forever.
Yes.
You're in and out. You're in and out within an hour and 15 minutes, maybe hour and 30 at most. It's so
funny,
quick.
like when you walk through the MGM and like you're like, man, that was awesome, it was great, and you look up on the TV and they're playing the freaking grand entry. You're like, wait a minute.
Well, yeah, it's crazy.
And I understand, but it's just like, I mean, I've been on rodeos where it's just like the production drags out.
Well, okay, so that was the one problem I have. I went to the American the whole time, and it was like 6 for that second day of the American. It's always like that because they run two deals, but holy shit, you get there at noon and it's so long. The NFR, it's just like you're in, a couple beers, you're out.
You're out. That's exactly right. And keep in mind they're $16 beers, so
they are $16 beers, so it helps.
When you go to the American, are you like back behind the buck and shoots? Are you helping your sister out?
No,
are
no,
you
never.
In the stands?
Never. No, I mean, of course we go. I mean, as far as being a spectator. If you're a spectator, no, I just like to go in the seats personally. I don't like to be in.
Do you watch the rodeo on the dirt, or do you watch it on that giant freaking TV screen?
Well, okay, if you're at AT&T, and depending on what event they're running at the American and where you're sitting, you got to use the screen.
Yeah, you have to.
So, you may, because like last year, if you sit on the 50-yard line, all you see is the freaking band. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you sit, to one side, all you see is the bulldogging. Well, but then they're doing the team roping on the other side. It's just like you could walk back and forth, or you could just look at the screen.
What rodeo is it where they're bucking two pins at separate times on each end? It's not Pendleton, is it?
It might be Pendleton.
It might be Pendleton.
Yeah, grass.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, did you watch the steer tripping last year where Trevor freaking almost cleared that guy with a rope running that steer off to the left?
No.
You didn't see that?
No.
Man.
Well, I never watched the steer tripping.
Well, it was just like an iPhone video.
Yeah, well, if it's not televised.
Yeah, he roped the steer and the sucker runs off, and the photographers are on the grass, and like some of them weren't paying attention, like rope dang near took their heads off. It was like, dude, if you're gonna be that close, it's just like you're filming the arena for bull riding and you're not paying attention and you get smoked by a bull. Like, you got to pay attention to that stuff. It's just, anyways, that's another rabbit hole.
Well, it's so interesting. Here we go. Steer tripping. You know, steer tripping is the #1 contributor to the all-around for men.
Yes.
And your casual ticket buyer at the NFR doesn't even know what's going on.
It's because the finals are in Mulvane, Kansas.
Yes. So it's just such
in November.
Exactly. And that was the point I was trying to make. It's just like, it's just the all-around thing is such a weird, and again, I shouldn't speak to stuff that I am not involved in, but the all-around thing has just never made a lot of sense to me because the #1 contributor for all-around money is steer tripping.
Yes. Do you think in the next 10 years there will be the all-around champion will be a roughie?
Okay, who was the last roughie who Ty Murray did stuff? Yeah. I mean, that'd be cool.
The person that's got a shot, again, just my opinion, don't send me crappy messages on social media, is, and I just went blank on his name, that right kid that rides bulls also.
I mean, it would be
is
really
it Ryder?
cool.
Ryder, right?
Is Ryder the one who rides bulls? Yeah, Ryder. Yep.
Yeah, Ryder.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know him personally, but
because he was close to making it 2 events last year.
it's just a lot of stress, right?
It's
like
a lot of stress.
I don't think anybody would be able to do barebacks and saddle bronc, but barebacks and bulls makes sense. There's enough time in between those two events.
Saddle bronc, you'd be moving quite a bit.
Well, they're so close together, maybe.
Yeah,
It's a lot of stress, but
unless you stay amped from your saddle bronc ride, and you literally can, throw on a vest and a helmet, and if you want to wear a helmet and get on the bulls.
Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see it because at least there would be viable context to what the all around is. Now, people who know, but if you're a casual rodeo fan, they see somebody get crowned. And the only reason I know this is because people have asked me. Lots of people, like I've watched a rodeo with, like, what's the all around? Like, what is the other thing? You go, there's this other thing, and it can't be on television. It's called steer tripping. Well, what's that? Let me show you. Oh my God, that's brutal. And it just explaining what the all around actually is kind of difficult. But somebody's always the all around champion. It sounds so great.
Yeah. And it's usually a timed event guy.
Well, it's always a tie down roper. Because they're doing
well,
steer tripping.
No.
Yeah.
2016 was junior.
It was junior. That's right. Yeah.
He was an ERA roper. He's an interesting individual.
He's a good dude.
He is a good dude. Colorful as all get out. Always smiling.
Yeah. Him and Caleb Drigger split up. It'd be interesting to talk about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Rodeo TMZ.
Yeah, Rodeo TMZ. Hey. And all of it is like, that's the problem. It's so much gossip. It's like, be like, why are you talking about me? It's like, well, just so-and-so said that so-and-so said that so-and-so said you guys aren't roping together.
Well, I heard from a friend of a friend and the cousin's friend.
It's like, well, I don't even know you. I was like, yeah, but they knew you, and I don't know you, but I guess you're not roping with them.
Yeah. So we're kind of friends because we all know the same people. No, that's not
it's not right. Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, interesting. I'm sure both of them are going to find great partners and keep on doing what they do.
Talk about talent pool. The team roping is just amazing right now.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And Charlie Crawford had a good winter.
Yeah.
I was excited to see him doing well. Really excited about.
Well, cool guys. I think it was a really good segment, and glad you guys got to come on.
Thanks for having us, man.
You guys, is the gym back open and everything? Like, you guys are able.
We're in sports med. We're still doing our sports med thing.
Yeah,
it's a lot more one-on-one. We got to screen you before you come in. Just the basic. Yeah,
in Decatur of all places.
Yeah,
huh?
Yeah. We have our sports med facility. We still got stuff that we can train like a one-on-one basis, and so. Again, no answers. We don't know what's going on. We're just trying to do the best we can for these guys that are still running and still want to stay in shape. So, we still got jobs to do.
Both Adam and I know a couple of the other guys. We're making house calls too. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the guys can't get into clinic, so we're going to see them, treating them where they are, wherever. But it's we're doing the same thing they are. We're trying to keep our heads above water.
Yeah.
Just take care of these guys.
It's interesting because the commercial, I go right off 35. There's a Lifetime not too far from Decatur. Yeah. That's where I go. And
do you have to wear a mask and gloves?
No, I have to do nothing.
Good.
Drink out of the water fountain if you want.
There you go.
Savage. I'll take that coat.
Such a rebel.
Drink it out of the water fountain in a box.
Look at me.
Unfortunately, part of our problem is we're owned by a hospital system.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're kind of seeing the hospital side, not so much the fitness side.
Right.
It's good and bad, but right now it's bad.
As long as we're still able to do our jobs and take care of these guys, that's what matters.
Totally. Well, I mean, you guys are at the top of the game, and if there's anything you guys could suggest to up-and-coming youth rodeo athletes to do to kind of prepare to be the best in the world. I mean, knowing what you guys know and providing the services you do and the science behind what you guys are doing, and what would you recommend somebody do if that's their aspiration?
Definitely, you got to take care of your body, and that's not just maybe in the gym. That's what you put in your body. You know what I mean? If you're just drinking soda water and eating cheeseburgers, that's no good. You know, so what you put in your body and how you treat your body is going to get you far.
Wait, what's wrong with soda water?
I mean, it's good unless you're.
Is there something wrong with Perrier?
Oh, like Dr. Pepper. Perrier.
He said soda water.
Yeah, I don't know where that
Because
came
he's
from.
like 80.
Because he's like 80.
He's like 80.
Well, I don't like to say Coke because I don't drink Coke.
Yeah.
You know what
He
I mean?
drinks Diet
I know it's a
Coke.
Texas thing. Everything's a Coke, but you know, I drink the diet sodas and but whatever.
Just don't say pop.
I was going to say he drinks the Diet Pop.
He's a pop guy.
I don't say
But you're
that.
from New
I-
York.
Yeah, he's
They
a
say
pop
pop
guy.
in New York?
He's a pop guy.
I don't even know. It's been so long. My wife gives me hell. She's like, "You're a Yankee." I'm like, I'm sorry. She's like, "You got here as quick as you could." Yeah, I did. Sorry. Nothing I can do about it.
It's too late now.
Yeah, whatever.
Once again, derailed your guys' great feedback.
Could you edit that out?
Yeah.
Anyways, so what he said, and something if I can piggyback off of, Keith saying, be smart what you put in your body, take care of, your intake and everything. We were taught by our advisor, you can never stop learning. So be a student of your craft, whether it's films, going to bareback clinics, roping clinics, barrel racing clinics, what it is. Physically, emotionally, and mentally, you can work on all those, and collectively you get those combined, you'll be good. Now, world championships aren't going to come easy, but in the long run, they're worth it. Just ask every single person that's got a buckle. In the long run, they're worth it.
Right on. So I don't know how active you guys are on social medias, if you even want to plug your social medias.
He's a social media director.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Well, where can everybody find Fit and Wise and you guys on social media?
So me personally, I like the Instagram.
The Instagram.
The
The
Instagram.
Instagram.
And
The
it's-
gram.
I could tell. I saw that goatee. You're in the fitness.
You
the
are.
fitness
Fitness,
area.
yeah.
I know where you're at.
To be honest, I couldn't even tell you what it was.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh, are you serious?
I just post photos and try and not have terrible grammar.
Oh,
I believe it's Fit and Wise Rodeo Sports Med.
hold on. It actually is because you're on your Instagram feed. It's Fit N, the letter N, FITN Wise WISE Rodeo Sports Med.
Oh, longest tag ever.
Well, it's freaking huge. Man, this studio is awesome.
Yeah, it is great, right?
It's awesome.
Yeah, we're super happy with it.
Yeah. And that's Instagram, Twitter. Okay, Twitter.
Yeah, I've got a Twitter. I couldn't tell you what it is. Typically,
yeah, social media
I
director.
post on Instagram and then it goes to Facebook also.
Okay.
Dude, they're gonna cut your pay.
Yeah.
If they're giving you extra for the social media director, do you have a little badge on your
Hey,
door for that? Social media director?
When
They're
we're
gonna
at
take it away.
events, like when we're in events, this fool's on top. Like he's getting.
Is he?
Oh, he's getting phenomenal pictures. Like he's on top of it. And he's like when we're doing stuff, he's posting all the freaking time. But when we're not,
Yeah, let me give you a list of the positions I have, and then let me give you a list of the positions I'm getting paid for. It's a little bit smaller. Right?
This has been The Gauge, hosted by me, Chance Conrado, produced and edited by our guy Ty Yeager. Shout out to the executive producers Dustin Pointer and Cody Denton. Marketing and content produced by Casey Burke. Our theme song is by Shay Ashshire and the Night Howlers. Make sure to rate and review this podcast, as well as follow The Gauge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure to subscribe to The Gauge wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you guys next time.